So you've got a rowing machine or have access to a rowing machine and you want to row with perfect technique because that's just who you are. This video is going to be your one-stop shop for the perfect rowing stroke. There are 7 key points to a perfect rowing stroke. We're going to go over them point by point so that way you can check your own form, see how your form stacks up, and see where you need to improve upon in order to be the best rowing person you can be. And if you can practice and implement these 7 rowing cues, then you're gonna be a freaking rowing all-star with some pretty fantastic technique. And I could just be like the rest of the YouTube world and fiddle fart around the whole topic, but instead we're just gonna get into it. The first point of focus for having a perfect rowing stroke is having the proper handle and wrist position. The handle should be pulled in right below your chest. Your hands should be on the outsides of the handle and your wrists should be nice and flat. We achieve these flat wrists and a proper activation of our back muscles when our elbows go out and back. If your elbows are just back, you get the T-Rex arms. And if your elbows are just out, then your chest tends to cave inward. We don't get the maximum activation and usage out of our back muscles. So as you pull on that handle, aim for right below the chest, elbows out and back. The second point of focus for having a perfect rowing stroke is having the ideal layback. And the idea there is to have an 11 or a 1 o'clock layback with your body. If you think about the numbers on a clock, 11 and 1, we want to be in a position with our shoulders behind our hips, our abs nice and tight, but we're not leaning back so far that it makes it too challenging to lean our body forward and come up on the return. More layback is not ideal and that can cause some lower back issues. So just think 11 or 1 o'clock, depending on which way you're facing. Now that we've established a rock solid finish position, the third point of focus for a perfect rowing stroke has to do with the return or the recovery portion of the stroke. And this third point of focus is doing what's called the handle push down. This means that as you come up to take the next rowing stroke, to push your handle down and out with your arms straight, followed by a lean with the body. The handle should be going over your knees before your legs bend. The reason why we push the handle down is to prevent overactivation and overuse of our arm and shoulder muscles. Those muscles tend to tire out very quickly if we carry our handle high on the return, and so by pushing our hands down and out, we can relax the shoulders and assure ourselves that we get the handle over our knees before the knees bend. As you continue your return back up, once you bend your knees after the handle has gone over your knees, this next point of focus is on making sure that we have a complementary 11 or 1 o'clock body angle forward. Thinking back to the 11/1 o'clock layback, we want to complement that at the front end. So if you were 11 o'clock at the back end, you're 1 o'clock at the front end, and vice versa. Now that we're at the front end of the rowing stroke, the 5th point of focus is keeping your hands high and in line with the chain or strap or whatever mechanism your rowing machine is using for the handle. It might sound pretty simple and straightforward, but in actuality, keeping your hands directly in line with where the chain feeds into the machine or where the strap feeds into the machine requires your hands to be fairly high at the front end. I tend to look for the angle of the shoulder and the hands, and that angle should not be very steep. If your hands are a lot lower than your shoulders, you're most likely not connecting the first few inches of the drive of your stroke. But as long as you have a proper body angle forward, when you keep those hands high, you will feel a nice big stretch in your lats, those big back muscles, and that is gonna connect your stroke from the very second that you start your drive back. And as we begin to take our next rowing stroke, focus point number 6 is on making sure that we push our legs first while keeping our forward body angle. This, in my opinion, is the most challenging of focus points to really nail down correctly. As you drive your legs first while keeping your forward body angle, you want to make sure that every inch the seat moves, the handle moves as well. If your seat ends up moving more than your handle does, this is called shooting the slide, and you can usually tell when this happens because your body angle forward tends to fold forward even more. That, or you might have the opposite issue, which is leaning your body back before your legs straighten all the way. You should really be getting your legs almost entirely straight while keeping your shoulders in front of your hips. And that leads us into our final focus point, and that is the acceleration through the hips. If you can successfully push your legs first while keeping your shoulders in front of your hips, that force that you generated, we now want to accelerate that force through a body swing, really feeling our hips, our butt, our core activate as we swing our shoulders into the layback while keeping our arms straight, and then at the very end, pulling in those arms. The pulling of the arms should not be its own aggressive motion, it's simply a finishing of the acceleration that you generated through the hip swing. And from there, the focus points start all over again. So there you have it, the 7 points for a perfect rowing stroke. Which points do you find that you struggle the most to really knock out? Do you struggle with any of them? Do you feel pretty good about your rowing? If you want me to personally review your rowing form for you, you can check that out over at my website, as well as other rowing ebooks, personal coaching through my month-to-month coaching called Row 20, and a lot more from me as well. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're interested in more fitness and rowing stuff from me as well, and please let me know your thoughts down below. Like if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.